Why do we struggle with accountability? What is that about? What's stopping us every day from being high achievers? What does that even mean? See, behind this camera, there's a tank of fish. When I look at them, they don't do anything. I can look at them the next day and they're still not doing anything. And it just doesn't matter, because we're the only species on the face of this planet who believe we must actually do something. We're the only species who think to begin with, and then that thought takes us to the desires, the needs, the wants, the future. And that's where it all begins for all of us. Now, simultaneously, we're also struggling with the concept of actually working towards anything, because it's almost as if subconsciously we recognize that we're here to do nothing. We're here to just hang out. We're here to just have a good time. Life should be a party. Life should just be a game and just a way for us to have fun and enjoy each other. Enjoy the company, enjoy this planet that we're living on, right? So there is this paradox where on one side we're struggling with our animal instincts of just hanging out, finding food, finding mates, taking long naps, and on this other side, here we are trying to find the next house, build the next property, get to Mars as fast as we can. This juxtaposition of the two is the human conundrum. It's the problem we are all constantly struggling with. And to find ourselves accountable, we will constantly fail, because we're not meant to be fully accountable. We're meant to be somewhat lazy. And that duality keeps coming back. We'll never be able to just completely pull away from it. If you become the person who never rests, if you become the person who's working 7 days a week for the next 3 decades, you'll lose a lot of life. You'll lose a lot of relationships. You'll probably lose your own children if you have them, right? Like, you'll never have a relationship with your own kids. That's a very important aspect of our lives, especially for men, because we're such high achievers. We're so focused on the grind, the drive, the success, and all that comes with it. And what we miss in the process of it is that as we're holding ourselves accountable for becoming the best version of ourselves, pushing beyond our capabilities, we are also sacrificing something in the meantime, because you can only be in one place at one time, and in that moment you're inevitably missing on plenty of other opportunities around, and some of them that are so far away you may not even be able to visualize them or think of them, right? Like you don't even know that they exist. And this is a huge struggle for us to be aware of, right? If the path we take is to just constantly work on the accountability and push, if that's what we pursue the most and that's what matters the most for us, then fine. But as far as I understand life, there's value in balance. There's value in building different aspects of life, because as you take a break from something, as you explore something new, as you spend some time with a new person in your life, make a new friend, you start to find answers in other aspects of your life that you wouldn't have otherwise achieved. You'll start to find answers in different categories of your life that you felt a little bit stuck in. Whereas, if you had pushed really hard in those categories and just grinding hard every single day, there's really no evidence that you would have found the same kinds of answers. So we collectively help each other without even trying to help each other. So much of our inner growth, inner understandings of life, our development as human beings come from our sense of social life and our experiences that we've had in our teenage years, in our 20s, and the way we have learned from our peers without necessarily, taking lessons from them, just by osmosis of being in their presence. And this is why it's so important to surround yourself by people that actually inspire you, for sure. And you already knew that, right? But when we're talking about accountability does not just mean waking up and grinding, and then before you know it, it's 11 at night, going to bed, waking up at 4 in the morning the next day, doing it all over again. Sure, that is one aspect of it. But accountability is also dating the right person, right? Accountability can also mean having a good friend in your life and grabbing a cup of coffee with the right friend at the right time, who gives you a little bit of inspiration, pulls you away from your train of thought and exposes you to a new perspective, right? There's so many different versions of accountability, and all of that, if it's coming from the right source, if it's serving the right purpose, if you are on the right voyage in life, then it will all eventually resurface itself and help you during your growth. And vice versa, if you're not on the right voyage, if your motivations to pursue anything is pure power and money and materialistic desires, or anything else that is less of your own soul and more of the kind of the shallow end of life, then what you'll see is that really nothing serves you, because the whole universe is trying to tell you that, like, you're on the wrong path, bro. Okay, the whole universe is trying to tell you that, like, the direction you're going is not for you, and you might want to turn around, take a left turn, U-turn, and explore something new. And so, unfortunately, the people that are lost on those kinds of paths, they tend to never really find the right corrected direction. They tend to stay on that path for a very long time. Oftentimes people completely waste their lives on paths that were unnecessary for them to take to begin with. And that's the saddest truth. This is partially why I do what I do, is because I've seen way too many of my own loved ones on journeys that were not necessarily serving them. And as they've aged, as they've gotten older and older, as if they pushed harder and harder on these journeys that just were clashing with their personality, with their existence, they became more and more miserable, more and more depressed, more and more anxious, more and more devastated, and they age faster, truly, right? And if there's one lesson I've gained from that is to be in touch with who I am, is to constantly question my own desires, my own needs, my own path, and make sure whatever path I take and I choose in life is really aligned, and I feel the sense of expansion as it kind of unfolds itself, the path. And give it time, because accountability, because growth, because the ability to recognize whether something is working or not is kind of a time-consuming process. And this is partially why it's so important to have some level of self-awareness. If you're constantly trying something new, as others are offering to you, as other people are suggesting, and not really going within and asking yourself, is this something I want to do? If someone's asking you to become a mechanic, don't just foolishly close your eyes and go do the task. It'll take you years to become a decent mechanic. Check in with yourself. Like, is this even exciting? Let me try it for one day. How do I feel about it? Let me try it for 1 week. How do I feel about it? 1 month. Now, how do I feel about it? And in that journey, do not get lost by lying to yourself constantly, because lying becomes a habit, and it's too easy for us to believe our own lies. After a certain threshold, we start to believe our own lies that we've been telling to ourselves. This is how people stay in these relationships that are not serving them for an entire marriage until one person dies. We lie to ourselves that this is the right thing for me to be doing in that moment, and we're afraid to take a risk, and we're not accountable enough for our own well-being to risk something. Take the financial risk of leaving someone. Take the entire emotional risk of losing your best friend by getting divorced, right? Those things are maybe not necessarily worth it in the moment because it's impossible to know, but they're important risks to take. And just about every risk in life is pure unknown. It is impossible to know whether it's worth it or not, and you can only tell later on. And you must trust that journey. You must trust the process. You must hold yourself accountable to the journey on a daily basis, right? Anything we hold ourselves accountable is not just a daily routine, although it's like with the mechanical example, like it's important to check in as you start a task and ask yourself, how is this serving me? How do I feel about it? But to also understand that if you're feeling okay, if you're feeling good, chances are this is a path for you to take for the next decade. Chances are the accountability, the discipline, the work ethic, the growth is a long journey, and you just have to constantly take it one day at a time and see where that takes you. So to recap the video, accountability does not just exist in waking up super early and pushing, man. That's not how it works. That is, of course, part of accountability. That's the sexy part of accountability, the part that people can show you on Instagram and on YouTube videos and make you feel like if you do this, if you do 1 and 2, then you get 3. It doesn't always work like that. Accountability is like it's something that can spread throughout your life, and it carries on into every aspect, every relationship, and it's about the balance you have within your life, and also trusting the path that you're on, and truly feeling like this is where you're meant to be. Through that journey, you start to learn from so many different categories of life, and every single lesson starts to serve the path that you're on. And that's the true process of being accountable, being in service of what it is that you're pursuing. Till next time.